Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Liz Cooner. I'm the Executive Director of the New Jersey State Policy Lab. And so I'd just like to welcome everyone to this webinar that we're having today. We're delighted to have had the opportunity to partner with the Senator Walter Rand Institute for Public Affairs on this research. We provided funding as well as some others who've supported this research. And I just wanted to welcome you and tell you a little bit about the New Jersey State Policy Lab, and then I'll pass the baton to our colleagues at the Walter Rand Institute. So the New Jersey State Policy Lab has been in existence a little bit less than 4 years. We receive our funding through the Office of the Secretary of Higher Education in the state of New Jersey. And we are a collaboration between the Blaustein School of Planning and Public Policy and the Rutgers Newark School of Public Affairs and Administration. And we conduct research on a wide range of topics, often by partnering with experts in the field. So in this case, we had a call for proposals, and the staff at the Walter Rand Institute had put together a proposal to do this research related to transportation in southern New Jersey, and we could see the value in it. And so we provided some funding, and we've been delighted to partner with them on this research. If you'd like to know more about the Policy Lab, check out our website. Along the top of our website, you can see publications on a wide range of policy domains. As you can imagine, transportation is intricately woven, with so many other policy areas. It has impacts on people's ability to access education, access their work. So many things about the quality of living are integrated with transportation. So we salute the team at the Walter Rand Institute for the important work that they've done. And with that, I'll pass the baton to Mavis Asedu Frimpong. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Liz. Hi, everyone. As Liz mentioned, my name's Mavis, and I direct the Senator Walter Rand Institute for Public Affairs at Rutgers Camden. And we do community-based policy and practice research into the issues of the day in and for Camden City and South Jersey. So I wanted to just welcome you all, as Liz was mentioning. I wanted to echo that welcome, to thank you all for making the time to hear this presentation. I wanted to give a special thank you also to the New Jersey State Policy Lab. Liz and Megan have been such great partners. And I thought to give you a little bit of a roadmap in terms of how we got here today. So as I mentioned, the Institute does really impactful research into the critical issues of the day in South Jersey. So we have projects in public health, we have projects in education, in opioids, in transportation, in housing, all of the social issues you can think of. The Institute does research into all of those issues. And across all of those projects, we were noticing that transportation access was coming up over and over again for the folks that we were speaking with and in the research that we were conducting. And so we thought to produce a report that talked about the challenges with access to public transportation in South Jersey, and also the emerging trends, what was happening in South Jersey to address those challenges. And the presentation will kind of go into some of the initiatives that are underway to do that. And we really felt like the report that we released last year gave some additional evidence to the anecdotes that we continue to hear about public transportation access, and also amplify the solutions that are underway, and also to amplify the gaps that still remain that could do well with some additional attention. And so that report was released last year across South Jersey. And the second phase of that research is kind of what you're going to hear today. We wanted to do a county by county analysis of what people really wanted to see, what was working with regard to public transportation access, and what improvements that they wanted to see. So that's really where we started with the second phase, and we started in Camden County. So we're thrilled to be able to present this research to you. And please be sure to reach out anytime to the Walter Rand Institute. The report has a really really great wealth of information. And so if you ever want a more in-depth briefing or you want to talk with us about anything we've shared today, we're always open to that. Our contact information will be shared. Please feel free to reach out anytime. And with that, I am so excited to turn it over to Kristen and Carla, who led the research at the Walter Rand Institute. Thanks again for making the time. I hope you find it helpful and impactful, and go birds. I had to say that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mavis. My name is Kristen Curtis. I'm the Associate Director of Research at the Senator Walter Rand Institute, and I have the pleasure of overseeing our research portfolio. And I'm also joined by my colleague, Carla, who I would like to introduce herself. Carla was the PI of this project. Carla?
Sure thing. Thank you so much, Kristen. Hi, everyone. My name is Carla Villasis. I am pleased to be with you here today to tell you a bit more about this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. So as Mavis already teed up, we're really excited to share with you the transportation priorities and recommendations that we learned from the community in Camden County. Natalie, if you'll go to the next slide for me, please. I wanted to just follow up and just level set a little bit about the Walter Rand Institute. For those of you who may not be familiar with us, the Walter Rand Institute is celebrating its 25th anniversary this year. We're really excited about our big celebration. If you'd like to learn more about the Institute, there is a QR code as well as our website on the left-hand side of your screen. As Mavis shared, we are a research institute of research staff, not faculty, that really focus on community-focused research in Southern New Jersey. So the 8 counties, Atlantic, Burlington, Cumberland, Cape May, Gloucester, Ocean, and Salem County are really where we do our work. And one of our specialties is really going out into the community to do that rich qualitative research through focus group and interviews. And that's exactly what we did with this project here. And Carla will share a little bit about some of those details around the community engagement momentarily. And so our second mission is really to convene stakeholders and those who have an interest in our topic to learn more about the research so they can connect it to policy and practice. And that's really why we're so excited to host this webinar today, to share with so many of our partners who supported this work, from New Jersey Transit to New Jersey State Policy Lab to PACO, among many other community partners across Camden County. And we're also due to our 25 years, we have really deep relationships within the communities of Southern New Jersey, and we're able to go into places to really connect with individuals and hear from them about their needs, their challenges, their recommendations and solutions, and bring that information back. And as Mavis shared, we work to really be responsive to the issues of the day, whether it's transportation, in this case, workforce development, public health, opioid, or education as well. And if you'd like to learn more, you can go to our website. At any one time, we have between 12 and 15 projects that we're working on across the region. And with that, Natalie, if you'll go to the next slide, I'd like to turn it over to Carla to share a little bit more.
Sure thing. Well, everyone, this is our show for today. So you can see we will give a brief overview of the goals and the project itself, and then we'll dive deeper into the findings. At that point, I will pass it on to Kristen so she can really just go over it and give you like a really nice breakdown about the positive things that came out of the project as well as the recommendations. With that, we'll follow to future research, next steps, where are we going from here, basically. And we'll close it off the last 15 minutes with just a Q&A. We would love to hear what kind of questions you have coming into this webinar or after we have the presentation. So next slide, please. Thank you. So as we mentioned, this project is almost like a secondary part to our initial project in transportation. For this, we really wanted to focus on a particular county, recognizing that each county has its own individual challenges as well as strengths. We chose our own backyard, Camden County, not just because it's kind of our own neighborhood, but also because it is in itself such a rich, complex network of transportation. We have closer to Camden City, where we have this transportation hub with the Walter Rand Transportation Center, the intersection of the PATCO and New Jersey Transit incoming from Philly, so also SEPTA. It's just such a rich network there. And then as it moves further down into South Jersey, we start kind of experiencing a bit more of those that landscape and those challenges that people have speak about across Southern New Jersey. So we really wanted to see how that plays out across the county. One thing that we really also wanted to prioritize here was to really hear from community members and to incorporate their voices into the discussion of an issue that ultimately impacts them and their daily lives. So here the priority was to really get that community feedback and understand what were the priorities that they had around transportation and what were the recommendations, the ideas, the firsthand experiences that they were having that could potentially inform ways in which we could fill these transportation gaps in the county. So that was basically our research questions, finding out transportation priorities within Camden County and what are the community recommendations for the transportation system in the county. Next slide, please. So in order to do this, we set out to engage as broad of the community as possible. Our goal was to try to hit every single municipality within the county. For that, we deployed physical flyers as well as digital flyers. And we wanted to be inclusive of not just users of public transportation, but really anybody who viewed themselves as traveling through the county on a regular basis. So commuters, even if they were coming from out of state, but they tended to be in the area a lot. And we also wanted to hear from pedestrians and drivers, thinking about how the transportation system, in a way, it is a bit of its own living system, right? There are multiple parts at play. So we wanted to hear everybody's experience and how they perceive the different parts play together. So as I mentioned, we use different materials that we displayed across public transit as well as different community spaces. We reach out to various community organizations, over 50 organizations, including community centers, libraries, I'm trying to think, different senior centers, different community events, anywhere where we could potentially get somebody's feedback. And we also did a bit of canvassing. So you may have seen me or my colleagues stationed at different public transit stations. We went to the Walter Run Center. We went to different stations for New Jersey Transit across the county, just to try to talk to different passengers or travelers about the project and see if they would be interested in giving us their input. One of the last things we also tried was that once we kind of had an idea as to what were some of the areas that maybe we needed a bit more feedback from, we employed the every door direct mailing system. So we basically just sent out, I believe, close to 3,000 different postcards to homes across like the county to try to promote the survey a bit more. And as a result of that, we were able to recruit 70 participants who participated in focus groups and shared their input with us, and a total of 233 participants who completed the survey across the county. Next slide, please. And here's just wanted to once again recognize the different organizations that work with us. These are just a handful of them. But it kind of represents the variety of partnerships that we used throughout this project. Big shout out to New Jersey Transit and PATCO. They kindly lent us their spaces to be able to promote this. They were great partners throughout the process, sharing information and just really being wonderful to promote the study. The Camden County Library System, as well as multiple local libraries and municipalities who lent us their space to talk to their different patrons, and all our other partners who were able to just promote the flyer with their different clients, customers, and community members. Next slide, please. Okay, and I will now pass it on to Kristen. She will give you an overview of the findings, and I'll see you again at the Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carla. As Carla shared, you could see the robust outreach that we did with all of our partners. So our findings really center on what we learned from the community. And I think as, just to kind of start at a high level, the community is appreciative of the transportation options that exist, and they don't want to tear them down. They, in fact, want to just kind of expand them a little bit and have them be a little bit more accessible. So I just wanted to start with that high level overview, and then we'll dive into some of the specifics specific. Next slide, please. So first, I just wanted to give you a little bit of a breakdown of our participant demographic. We worked really hard to make sure that we had a diverse group of individuals who participated, and we were able to have individuals from the age of 18 all the way up to their mid-80s participate in our survey. And most of the individuals who participated were between the ages of 25 to 49. We had an even split of males and females. We also had individuals who identified as transgender or non-binary participate as well. We also had individuals identify as Caucasian or white. 70% of our survey respondents were identified as white. Another 20% identified as Black or African American, and then 7% Hispanic Latino. We also had another small subset of individuals identify as multiracial as well. And I want to just take one moment to share with you the map that's on the right-hand side of your screen. This actually shows how we broke down the county. So what we did was we were able to receive information from 31 of the 36 municipalities in Camden County across the surveys. We did not gather the demographic information for the focus group participant, but based on self-identified information throughout the focus group, our demographics for the focus groups mirrored the survey demographics very closely. One of the things that we were able to do was identify the municipalities where folks were from. And as you'll see, there's a red dividing line. That is where the PATCO station for Haddonfield is, and bus number New Jersey Transit Route 457. So you'll have the northwest part, which we called Area 1, above the Haddonfield station, which encompasses Camden City, Cherry Hill, and the robust network of transportation that exists there. And then Area 2, which is our southeastern part of the county, that encompasses, Lindenwold, Pine Hill, Winslow, and Chislehurst. And we broke that into the southeast part of the county because there's some differences that we'll talk about in the data from both of these sections. Next slide, please. The first finding really centered on the reliability of public transportation and what people appreciated, and also the recommendation. As I shared before, people really appreciated the transportation options that do exist, especially when they run on time and they help people get from point A to point B, whether that's their work, whether that is their medical appointments or their food shopping. People really appreciated that there's public transportation that can facilitate their commutes. And then they had a series of recommendations, which ranged from improving punctuality to making sure that things run on time so they can, most importantly, get to work on time. And they also would like to see the travel times reassessed and potentially the timetables updated. And the reason for that is many folks talked about how sometimes during the busy times and peak time, they might be waiting for the buses. And they're also asking that all of the stops be made as well. Sometimes when drivers or the trains are running behind, they might skip a stop. And then also folks shared that they would love to have some customer service training. Folks talked about how there are wonderful bus drivers who work with individuals who may not speak English very well to really help support them in making sure they were on the right bus or the right train. But then there were also bus drivers who were not as customer service friendly. So just making sure that that's there. And they were hoping that there could also be a reward, program for individuals that really went above and beyond in their duties around, supporting the customers. Next slide, please. The next second priority was really around coverage and accessibility, which also kind of relates to reliability. As you can see, folks really appreciate the access and the ability to commute. But it's similar to what I shared before from the first map. There's some differences between those that are in the northern part, the northeastern part of the county versus the southwestern part of the county. Individuals who are in the northeastern part, encompassing Cherry Hill, Camden City, and so forth, use their private vehicles less because they're more likely to use the public transportation because they have access to it. And they find that it works really well for them, or somewhat well. Individuals in our southern part of the county, the southeastern part of the county, were more likely to say that the public transportation options did not work very well for them because there's not as much access to them. And I'll actually show you a visual on the next slide in just a moment that ties to some of the recommendations. Folks also really stated that they appreciated the elevator ramps and as well as the elevators and the ramps that have been installed at the PATCO stations and various New Jersey transit stations. In recent years, it's really made individuals that may have physical or mobility limitations, made them easier and made access easier for them. Additionally, with the recommendations, individuals really would love to see coverage expanded. And for more detail, you can go to page 32 and 33 of our report, and that'll actually highlight some of the areas. They would love to see more stops for the River Line and also more stops for PATCO, particularly in the southern part of the county past Lindenwold. Additionally, folks talked about adding additional weekend ride, holiday ride, and also early morning and overnight services. We heard from many individuals who work at various industrial parks for shift work that may finish their work around 2 or 3 in the morning, and they have to wait 2 or 3 hours till the first bus comes around 6 o'clock. And that's really difficult during the winter seasons. And folks also were hoping that there could be some connections to businesses in downtown areas as well as those industrial parks. And if you'll go to the next slide, I can kind of highlight this a little bit more. So just to kind of illustrate around the coverage point, the map with the gray background that has the yellow lines, which you can't really see too well, those are the bus routes. And then the blue is our Atlantic City rail line. The red is all the PATCO stop. The green is the River Line. And then we also put in the yellow bus stops for the New Jersey Transit. And as you can see, in our northern part of the county, we really have a lot of access to the transportation option. After you go past the Lindenwold stop, there's really a dearth of access. And that's really visualized on the map that has the orange background. So the darker the color means that there's more transportation options and more bus stops, more trains, and more options for people to get around. And you can see the rich color in the red and the dark red for the north part of the northeastern part of the county. Whereas when you look at the southwest part of the county, there's very few options, especially past Lindenwold as you're getting into Winslow and Chislehurst and Waterford and Atco and Pine Hill. And that's where folks would like to see additional opportunities for public transportation in Camden County. Next slide, please. Another priority area for the folks that we spoke to as part of this study was centered around conditions and safety. And this really focused on having visible security and staff. So folks really appreciated that where it was at the various New Jersey Transit or PATCO stations, and they would like to see it increased at the stations where maybe there's a lower present. They felt safer when there was personnel or cameras, and especially when there was really great lighting at night. That was something that there were several stations mentioned that had really great lighting and people felt safe, but there were other stations that people would like to see additional lighting to help increase their view of safety. Additionally, as Carla said, we also had an opportunity to connect with pedestrians and cyclists who may walk to various train stations or bus stations or bike to them and also view their viewpoint. So they like that there are safe passageways that do exist, but they would like to see that expanded as well. So really around this is really enhancing the infrastructure to create safe pathways for bicyclists to get to and from the various stations or bus stops, making sure that there's sidewalks. We heard, particularly as we go into the southeastern part of the county, that there's not weather shelters or benches or sometimes sidewalks where people can safely stand to wait for the bus. So they would love for that to be enhanced. And they also would like there to be an enhanced cleanliness on some of the buses and the trains. They have seen, changes over the years, but they would like to continue to see that. And then also just making sure that there's regular maintenance of the vehicles and the equipment too, to help stave off breakdowns or challenges with the equipment. And last but not least, something that we heard from nearly every focus group was that they would love to see social workers deployed at the various locations for train stops or for bus stations or at the Walter Rand Transportation Center. Excuse me. And one of the reasons for that was that people recognize that there are individuals that might be unhoused or struggling with homelessness or struggling with mental health conditions or with substance misuse addiction. And so they would like to have social workers available on site to help support people and connect them with the services so that way they can seek the help that they need and not be at the train stations or the bus stations. There was a great deal of compassion from those that we spoke with about having access to resources for those individuals that are using the bus stations or the train stations as temporary shelters. Next slide, please. The next priority for areas was around affordability. So folks talked about how they viewed public transportation as effective, but at the same time, folks were also concerned about the increase in the New Jersey transit fares that went into effect late last summer. And so folks, had some concerns about that. They also appreciated the discount programs that were available, particularly to older adults or students, just as an example that were mentioned. People also appreciated that there's multiple ways to pay, but they also would like to see if the payment structure could be made more user-friendly and streamlined, such as maybe eliminating the exact change policy or being able to renew your PATCO card on your app or paying even by your phone using an app. There were really a call just for making it more streamlined and user-friendly for folks. We also heard from many community members and residents and commuters that the zone pricing is really confusing, and that if that could be eliminated and just have a flat fee, that would be much easier for folks, because we heard stories of folks buying tickets for the wrong zone and having to get off and then buy another ticket, or different challenges with understanding where the zones were and what people needed to kind of access those zones. Folks also, as I shared before around the coverage and accessibility, they also would love to see the transit options really linked to various employment, commercial, and residential areas. Many individuals that we spoke to were working down in Cumberland County in Millville. They're working in Swedesboro in Gloucester County or at the Belmar Industrial Park in Camden County. And it can be hard for folks to get to those various places with the buses. So they were hoping that there could be better linkages and more frequent rides so that folks could use the buses. We also heard from folks that used private vehicles that said they would be interested in using public transportation if there were more options that were available for the time that they needed to go to those places. Individuals also said, if it's possible to help provide free rides during the less busy time to different populations who may need extra support getting to a medical appointment or going somewhere for shopping or something like that. So we really had a lot of wonderful information around that particular topic. And the next slide actually will be around access to information, which kind of piggybacks off of this. Thank you. What people really appreciated, as I said before, was really the helpful staff. Time and time again, we heard from individuals that the PATCO staff and that the New Jersey Transit staff were really helpful. And we heard stories about how they went above and beyond to really support passengers who may have been confused by the zones or may not have understood exactly where they needed to get their connection. At the same time, we also heard that there were some individuals who were not as helpful. So having, that customer service approach would be really valuable for individuals. People also really appreciated the signs where they're available that count down to the next train or to the next bus, so folks knew where things were coming. And that's something they would love to see kind of spread to all of the transit platforms, even the websites as well, well. So folks really talked about, information being available so they can understand where they have to go, what platform they have to use for payment, or where they have to go to pick up the train or the bus, and kind of having some detailed guides to help spell that out for folks. They found that to be really helpful. We even had a few individuals share that having a tutorial, like a short video, would be really helpful. And another thing that would be helpful that we heard from many, many community members was that for instance, if you call the lost and found, many times it directs you to a North Jersey number for New Jersey Transit, for instance. They were hoping that, the customer service line could also, and the lost and found could also have a designated South Jersey line, because they found it hard sometimes to get the information that they needed for the buses in South Jersey, because those operators, in their view, were not as familiar with some of the rides and buses and bus routes in South Jersey. So they thought having some special operators that could assist folks would be really valuable. And they also would love to have better communication from either the Twitter accounts or the apps that exist for the New Jersey Transit and PATCO when there's changes or unexpected delays in the schedule, just to really kind of highlight that information and keep folks informed as to when the next ride is. We heard several times that sometimes folks didn't have access to that information and they felt that they were stranded, or they then had to pivot and try to get a Lyft or an Uber, which was expensive, and sometimes they couldn't always afford that. So that was something that they would love to see as kind of a broader enhancement of the information sharing to keep the customers informed of any delays. And then for the environmental impact, the next slide, what people appreciated was really the electric buses. We heard in many, many focus groups that folks really loved the ride and the comfort of the electric buses. They also really appreciated how quiet they were too. And folks generally really acknowledged the efforts of New Jersey Transit and PATCO to help try to reduce pollution and greenhouse gas emissions by using electric vehicles. And they also thought that there would be a positive impact on the environment and car chargers as well. So tying into that were some of the recommendations around expanding the fleet of electric buses for New Jersey Transit, as well as continuing to expand the number of charging ports for electric vehicles across the county. Camden County has seen an increase in the number of purchases for electric vehicles. So this will be really helpful to have multiple options for charging for folks. And then individuals recommended that as appropriate, continuing to support the infrastructure for these green, environmentally friendly initiatives would be certainly welcomed by the general public. Next slide, please. I wanted to take just a few minutes as well as Carla, the research team, and I worked on this project. We also heard about many of the transportation projects that are actively happening in Camden County. For a more robust list, please feel free to see Finding I, which starts on page 54 of the report. We just wanted to share with you the top 3 that we heard from individuals. The first is the Camden Loop. Individuals really liked the Camden Loop. They thought it was affordable at $2 a ride. They noted that it really helps them get to work on time. It helps them to go shopping and go to medical appointments as well. And they're actually in favor of expanding it to maybe some of the towns outside of Camden City. And what was really nice was when we were doing our focus groups and folks talked about the Camden Loop with us, other folks in the focus group were not as familiar with the Camden Loop, so they got to share that information with their fellow residents and fellow commuters and share another option with folks as well. Next was the Walter Rand Transportation Center Improvement Project. This was not necessarily noted by name, but it was viewed positively because many of the recommendations and improvements that folks shared with us will be addressed through this comprehensive improvement project, such as renovating the facility, updating the facilities, and creating better connections for pedestrians. So that was also something that was noted. And then last but certainly not least, just as part of this snapshot, is the Gloucester-Camden line. And so overall, this was viewed very positively. People are excited about this, and some folks even shared that they wish it would have been in existence already to help facilitate that commute from certain locations in Gloucester County into Camden County. But there were also some individuals who were concerned about the noise and about the crowds that it might bring to different stations along the route for the Camden Gloucester line. So just wanted to share just a snapshot of those three with you. And then next slide, please. There's also, because we only have an hour, Carla and I could certainly prepare a 2 or 3 hour presentation, given the length of the report and the excitement that we both have around this report of elevating the community voice that we heard. So I just wanted to direct your attention to, in addition to speaking with individuals, we really had a great subset of individuals that we also spoke to. We spoke to older individuals, those 60 and older. We spoke to individuals who may have some physical or mobility limitations. We also did a few focus groups with primarily Spanish speakers, so those that identify as Hispanic or Latino. We also spoke with individuals who were unhoused or homeless, or maybe suffering from mental illness as well. So that way we could make sure that we really gather information from all of those who had something to share with us, but also engage with the transportation system in Camden County as well. And then one thing that we heard from focus group participants and those in the survey is that it was hard for individuals sometimes to identify different public transportation options available in the county. So we worked to create an inventory of the various public transportation options by municipality, because some municipalities have shuttles that help facilitate individuals getting to places where they can go food shopping or to their medical appointments, in addition to the larger New Jersey Transit, PATCO options, and other options such as Access Link and Senhan. So we worked to create that list for Camden County because many folks shared with us that sometimes it was hard for them to find that information. So that can be found on pages 70 through 73 of our report. Additionally, at the time of the writing of the report, we had put together a list of the current transportation projects that were happening in Camden County. So please note that it is current as of October of last year. So there may have been some that might have finished since we, wrote the report, or some that have started up. That can be found on pages 60 through 70. We also link where the Camden County Commissioners have on the Camden County website all of the updated information as well. So that information is linked on the report as well. So we just wanted to share that information with you. We recognize the report is long, but it has such great information that not only the community shared with us that we wanted to share back with the stakeholder, but information that can be put into the hands of community members that can be helpful to them as well. So next slide, please. So now, what are we doing with these findings? Where are we going next? And so I wanted to just share very briefly that we'll be holding convenings like this, a webinar to share with stakeholders, community members, and others that are interested. We also have the report available on the Walter Rand website and also on the New Jersey State Policy website. And it's also on our various social media channels as well. And you might also be seeing some articles in the press as well. There was a recent article that was published by WHYY about this report as well. So there'll be some, traction within the press to share this information out as well. And then we're also going to be working to create a digestible one-pager and fact sheet to share back with the community. So one of the things that's really important is that we share this information back with those who participated in the research. And so we're going to be working to create one-pagers and fact sheets that we can share with community members at local libraries, at the Family Success Center, at different faith-based organizations and places of worship, just to name a few. So that way the community can see that we took this information and we created the report, and then we also are sharing it with policymakers and leaders in the transportation field who can support this work and maybe work to address some of the priorities and recommendations of the community. Additionally, we'll continue to share it with our community partner, Camden County legislators. I know that there's a few on the call today, such as Assemblyman Moen. Thank you for taking the time to join. We'll also share with the state agencies. I know the New Jersey Department of Transportation is on here today too. Thank you for taking the time, as well as other nonprofits and other transportation entities. I know Cross County Connection, Rhonda and her team are on as well. So thank you for joining. Overall, we've had a lot of positive feedback and genuine interest in this report. So we'll work to hold briefings as necessary and share this information with those who are interested, but also back with the community as well, because that's so, so important. Next slide, please. Just to kind of share, as Mavis shared in her opening remarks, this particular project was born out of our initial 10-year transportation report, where we identified barriers and considerations in southern New Jersey. And so we wanted to do a county by county analysis, starting with Camden County, and recognizing that community input is so critical to understanding the priorities and recommendations of solutions of those that are on the ground using these services. That's why we started with this project and designed focus groups where we had in-depth conversations with individuals, as well as a survey with those who wanted to share information back with us. We are really hoping that we're going to be able to do this type of work across the other 7 counties in South Jersey, because we recognize that South Jersey is not a monolith. Every county is different, from our rural counties of Cumberland and Salem County to our coastal communities that are located in Cape May County and Atlantic County and Ocean County, to our, more rural and urban counties such as Gloucester County and Burlington County. We also will want to look at other modes of transit, such as microtransit, that has really started to step up and start to connect to other public transportation routes. And then last but not least, I wanted to share a core to our mission of convening stakeholders like this webinar. Our director, Mavis Asayadu Frimpong, facilitated 3 working sessions for the Nonprofit Development Center of South Jersey around transportation, where a key number of stakeholders came together to identify priorities and suggest solutions to start to advocate for transportation in southern New Jersey. So that's kind of what we're looking and hoping to do with the research and what we would like to do next. Next slide, please. I'd like to turn it back over to Carla to close out the presentation. Carla?
Thank you, Kristen. As Kristen mentioned, we do have 2 reports that are out there. So that is what we are displaying on the slides right now. The first one, the outline and transportation priorities and recommendations to communities in Camden County. I totally just mushed that, but that's the report that we just presented on today. So that will be the QR code under, where it says Camden County. We also have the link, obviously, if you need to. And the second one is the original, or the earlier report that was released last year, which gives more of an overview of data that we have gathered through other projects over the span of, I believe, 10 years, right? In southern New Jersey. So it was kind of like an introduction into like what we have been focusing on so far. Next slide. And once again, we just wanted to say thank you to the research team. I know my name is out there, so thank you to myself, but also thank you to everybody else. Kristen was a huge support throughout the development of the project. We also had a few wonderful research assistants. Shag, who has since moved on. She's actually out of the workforce now, but she was my second hand throughout the whole project, and she was invaluable in all this. Oz and Fawaz were fantastic in helping us synthesize the research and just providing a lot of that necessary context in the report. So yeah, it was a small but mighty team, and I just wanted to say thank you to everybody.
Absolutely. And I just want to echo what Carla said. Part of our other mission is really working with student researchers to train that next generation. So we had 3 students really gain that applied experience. So we're really excited. I also would be remiss if I didn't thank Natalie for all of her work in helping us design the PowerPoint and make all the pictures not pixelated. And also thank Mavis for her editing support and feedback. And then a shout out again to Liz and Megan for all of their work in funding this work and in helping us put this webinar together. So with that, I'll say thank you and turn it over to, I believe, Natalie and Megan, who will help us through the interactive session. Because Carla and I are ready to take your questions.
Hi guys, so we do have a Q&A in the chat, but also if you're interested in speaking, I believe you can always use the raise your hand button as well, and we can unmute you and you can ask your question. At the moment, there are two questions already in the Q&A. The first is from, actually they're both from Amy, but Amy Verbofsky. She asks, I'm sorry if I missed it, but can you speak a bit more to the origin of the study? Was it done at the request of NJ Transit or PATCO? If not, how were the various transit agencies involved in the study? You're muted still, Kristen.
Sorry about that.
No
I'm more
worries.
than happy to take a question. Amy, thank you so much for joining us today. So just to give you a little bit of background, in December of 2023, the Walter Rand Institute published a report that looked at 10 years worth of data around transportation accessibility, which included barriers and other considerations across Southern New Jersey. This actually was the result of work across 10 years worth of projects. We saw transportation come up time and time again. So we worked to synthesize that information and share that out. And then what we wanted to do was take it to the next step and engage the community and really understand from the community's perspective their priorities and their recommendations around transportation. And we wanted to take a county by county approach. We submitted a proposal to Liz and her team at the New Jersey State Policy Lab to start this work in Camden County, which is the home of Rutgers Camden and the Walter Rand Institute. We were fortunate to be selected, and then we were able to also share that information and work on this project. To your second question about the engagement of the New Jersey Transit and PATCO, they, along with another 50 community organizations, were instrumental in spreading the word about this research project so that we could get community members who wanted to share something to engage with this project, either through the survey and the focus group or one or the other. So we've really thanked PATCO and the New Jersey Transit for their support of this project. When we share the slides out, you'll be able to see how they supported us with seat drops and digital advertisements, just to name a couple of examples.
Thank you so much for answering that, Kristen. As I said, we have one other question from Amy. And again, if anyone else has questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Just let us know. The next question is, I love the focus on lifting up the community's thoughts and experiences around transportation. Given the current funding landscape, especially for transit agencies, how do you manage expectations around what recommendations are feasible?
Absolutely. That's such a great question, Amy. And I think, one of the things that we shared with folks is that we wanted to gather this information and that it was not up to us to, really suggest that this would be addressed or this would not be addressed, but take that back and share that with the individuals who could potentially address that. Many of the individuals that we spoke to understood that, this report and the finding wasn't going to solve things overnight, but they felt like empowered that they could share these results and share their recommendation and have that be part of the strategic planning process or the implementation processes as well.
Wonderful. Okay, so we're getting a couple more in. David Heller just asked, so just to reconfirm, your plan is to do a similar report for all the other counties in South Jersey? By when approximately do you intend to have all of these reports completed?
So David, just as a point of clarity, we're hoping to do them and we're going to be looking for opportunities to help fund those. We do not have the current funding to fund all 7 of the other counties. We were fortunate to do this through the New Jersey State Policy Lab. So hopefully with this successful report, we'll be able to leverage that to secure funding opportunities. If you know anybody who would like to help support this work, please do not hesitate to get in touch with us.
Okay, the next question is from Jeffrey Schwartz, apologize. Was the issue addressed about the current hub and spoke system that NJ Transit uses? For example, if I live in Summerdale and work in Lindendale, do I still need to go into Camden and change buses, which adds significant time to my travel?
Yes, I'm going to allow Carla to answer that question. Carla,
Sure
please.
thing. Yes, of course. That is definitely something that was mentioned across various transportation systems, just the idea of like a lot of things that one would think would require a direct line do not have a direct line. We definitely got a lot of examples like that, and we try to convey as many as possible within the report. That being said, I think there are a lot of lines, or there are a lot of different pathways that people need to take that have not been addressed. I mean, as in like things that were not mentioned during the report. Actually, just the other day, a friend of mine was telling me about this one light. I believe it was in Somerdale that it tends to lead to a lot of accidents because it remains green, but everything else remains red. So something like that. And these are stories that are still coming out because once again, the county is so widespread. Now, in regards to your specific question, I understand that it was not something that we heard during the report, during the data collection process. That being said, it is something that was mentioned as far as the idea of asking these different transportation systems to explore what are the more direct pathways that are required by commuters. So it's definitely something to consider, and we'll definitely take it into account as we're doing our one-pagers and such to communicate up. Thank you.
Okay. So we have another question. This one is from Rhonda Erkowitz. Do you have a timeline for conducting research in the other South Jersey counties?
So Rhonda, similar to the other question, that will depend on securing funding to help support the other work through the other counties. We were fortunate, again, shout out to the New Jersey State Policy Lab to support and fund this work for us to start in Camden County. We're going to be looking for other opportunities to replicate this in the other counties. If Rhonda, you have any recommendations or ideas, we would love to hear from you. We love your organization, so let us know.
I also wanted to add really quickly that something also that we discovered throughout this process is that it is actually kind of difficult to kind of limit yourself to one single county because transportation does happen inter-county. So there were times in which we kind of had to pause ourselves and say like, this is the limit where we need to go because otherwise it will just keep going. So it's definitely an idea of like, is there a way in which we can explore a few counties that have that, established like connection system. So there's definitely ways in which we could do this. It doesn't have to be each individual one. There are ways in which we're potentially connected. Thank you.
Okay, the next question we have is from Lynn Rosner. How can we duplicate the Camden County City Loop to other municipalities in Camden County? Who needs to be at the table?
I can
Go ahead,
take
Carla.
it. Yes. So that is definitely more of a process or operational question. I will say we did get some people who spoke about the Camden City Loop. Those who were aware of it thought it was a great option when they were within the city. Something that we also did find out was that some people who could potentially be in their area of service were not aware of it. So there was a lot of communication within the focus groups of people saying like, what is that? Tell me more, and exchanging information. So I'm not really, since that is more of an operational question, I'm not really sure what exactly, sorry, let me backtrack. One thing I will definitely say is that given that it is a specific type of microtransit, I think it would require its own kind of study, understanding what led to it being creative. The Camden project is also a bit of a replication of what has happened in Newark, I believe. It's actually like the same company that provides the service. So we do have, this is almost like a recreation of that experiment. So it's something that could definitely be done across parts. But an important thing, part of it, I think, is definitely more communication and advertisement so that the project can actually launch and be used.
Okay, so we have one question from Deanna Radkowski, I believe that's pronounced. How did you determine exactly which locations to host focus groups discussions at, especially considering that transportation can be a barrier to participation in just about anything? Did you provide assistance with transportation to these discussions?
Deanna, thank you so much for that question. To answer it, we had both in-person focus groups and also virtual and remote focus groups via Zoom to help account for that. Unfortunately, we were not able to provide transportation to the focus group, but what we did was work with our partners to really host it at locations where folks could get to pretty easily that were on the transportation route. So that was something that we did. And then Carla and the team also hosted a series of focus groups over Zoom as well. So that way we could ensure that folks could participate.
Yeah, I wanted to also add to that question and also answer the following question, which is also by Diana. So what we wanted to make sure that we try to host at least one in-person focus group like across Camden County. So we picked areas. We actually look at that, which are the areas that are most populated, and then we try to reach out to public locations because we wanted to make sure that it was a place that was accessible. So then we reach out to different libraries, different community centers, family success centers, etc. So we try to make sure to have like a certain number up, like, in the more northwest part of the county, more in the middle, and more towards the south, like over in Winslow Township. So that was our goal. And once we realized that we were kind of hitting that, kind of like, okay, we tapped out on the number of locations that we can use, and also we want to make sure that we can host more. We switched over to virtual focus group after a time that the study was had been available for long enough that people will know about it. As far as compensation, focus group participants were compensated. Each of them received a $25 gift card. For those of them, we give them in person for the ones who were in person, and we mailed them to those who participated virtually. Survey participants were also compensated. We did a raffle. So 5 participants got a $50 gift card for taking the survey.
Yep. And if you'd like to learn more, Deanna, we have that detailed in the report under our research methods section, both in the research methods, and then we also provided more detail in the appendix as well.
Okay, so I think we have time for just one more question, which is actually the last question on the list.
Okay.
Anonymous attendee asked, not sure if I missed it, but is there any feedback about transportation in Camden County as it relates to access to care?
Carla, do you want to start, or you want me to start?
I need to think about it really quickly, but I was actually going to talk about how we heard about it through other projects, but you can go ahead.
Yeah, so I think, one of the things that, we heard particularly around the survey and also around like the Camden Loop was that folks did use transportation to access care. In fact, with the Camden Loop, that was the third highest reason that folks used it after accessing it for education and after accessing it for work purposes. And so transportation in Camden County was definitely used for access to care. We also heard this from individuals who worked or who were older, who would use Access Link or SendHand to get to the appointments. And one of the other pieces that were also shared was that sometimes those options can be limiting because they finish at around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So folks have to really schedule their appointments in the morning as well. So that was something that we heard from individuals. And then, as Carla said, from some of our other projects, we did hear challenges, and that's actually detailed in our first report around morbid care and logistic care, about some of the challenges with those private organizations that provide transportation.
Thank you so much. I'm glad you remembered those details. Yes, there was also some discussion as to like how long it takes to actually reach the appointment location, how there might be some delays with services that are medical transport, all those different things. And we definitely will continue exploring this through the different community health needs assessments that we're conducting at the time. So we'll definitely get more information on that as time moves on. Thank you.
All right, so I think we finished just in time. Everybody, pat yourselves on the back for being very timely on everything. I just wanted to say again, thanks also to everyone who participated. Thank you for attending. I think this was a great webinar. There was so much information that was covered, and I think that there's also so much more that you guys can continue to keep working toward. Also, congratulations. I believe it's your 25th anniversary. So, woo.
Yeah,
Thank
you so much. And Megan and Liz, thank you again. It was a real pleasure to everybody who joined today. So thank you. Thank you for your interest. And Natalie has the reports on our website. And if you would like to learn more, please don't hesitate to email us as well. We're happy to answer questions or discuss the report as well.
You're also all welcome to check out the New Jersey State Policy Lab website as well. We have a ton of other information that's not it's a bunch of other things too. But yes, please definitely check out both of our websites. I hope you all stay warm and stay safe, and safe travels.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much, everybody.
Stay warm, everybody. Thank you. Bye.